Friends and enemies, welcome back to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast number 207. Len, we passed our 4-year anniversary. Did you know that? I think it was 206, right? 52 by 4. Oh no, 52 by 4 is 208. So we're on, next one is our 4-year anniversary.
But you got to take it a step further because there is a leap year every 4 years too, right? So you have to take that consideration, right?
Yeah,
so
okay.
I don't know when do we do our first show?
Somebody will tell us. I don't
sometime
we don't keep track anymore, but
it was March. It was
definitely.
March.
Yeah,
I thought it was the last week of March.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. It's good to see you anyways. You know, whether it's the first time or the 207th time, always a pleasure. So
no, we missed a few weeks. I was off with COVID, remember, for at least 1 week, and I think Gandalf took my place.
Gandalf did one for you, and then also our old friends SB and Wayfaring took one as well.
Was that the one where I was on hiatus for because of the... I was just...
Wayfaring did another one where you took a week off to protest David Bailey and Mark Goodwin. But we've had so many great filling guests, whether it's, the recent Deedles, Boomer, Gandalf pregnancy roster. Jeff Devick, yeah, of course. Or whether it was COVID or summer vacations or whatever.
Did you say Boomer? Boomer for sure.
Yeah, of course. Well. Of course. Yeah.
Tom Karadza for sure.
Tommy boy. I was just on his show last week. We had a great talk, almost 2 hours. You guys are going to love that one.
2 hours, holy shit.
Yeah, pretty close. I went there at 3 o'clock and getting home to like 7. Yeah.
Very nice.
Anyway, so we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, Carney's been making the rounds. We got Scott Bessent, or I guess Lutnick, I should say. Lutnick's former employer, Cantor Fitzgerald, making a $2 billion bet on Bitcoin lending, among other things. A full roster of great content for you on tonight's CBP. But first, the sponsors. EasyDNS, Mark. Is he the favorite co-host? He might be. I don't know. He's up there for sure among our listeners and viewers. He's the proprietor, the founder of EasyDNS. And that's where we do business when it comes to the CBP website, and we encourage you to do the same. Head over. You can buy a website, buy a domain, port a domain if you have one already. Mark will help you in either case. Set up a little WordPress site. He's got a suite of different options over there for you. And not to mention, Len, the now world famous, oh my gosh, the name is escaping me here. The security suite. Oh my gosh. What is it called? DomainSure. DomainSure. Yeah. The world famous DomainSure. We talk about DomainSure a lot on Access of Easy, our other podcast that we do for EasyDNS. And it's important that you guys understand that this day and age, okay, you're being exposed to it a little bit on the Bitcoin side now. Lots of people gunning for domains, gunning for spoof emails, gunning for all kinds of stuff that'll make your life a lot more difficult if you don't have a competent DNS provider. Mark is competent and more. And of course, if you're a Bitcoin maxi or even Bitcoin enthusiast, you get all your other fun toys over there. Hey, Len, you got the virtual private server stuff that gives you a chance to do Nostr relays, nodes, BTC pay servers, among other things that I'm surely leaving out. And you can do all that at 50% off the first time you head over to give Mark your business. Can't beat that. CBP Media is the code. Tell him we sent you, or hit him in the chat. He's always in the chat. And you get that 50% off your first round of buys. You can't beat it. Who's the other sponsor?
Bull Bitcoin. And you know what? I missed the price of Bitcoin. I'm guessing it's the low 80s. I'm not sure in USD, but good time to buy, good time to sell. Whatever you want to do, they have you covered. Both on-chain and Lightning. On-chain is still very, very cheap for what you think it's going to be in the next little while. So continually do your exchanges on-chain for the time being. And Bull Bitcoin, they're non-custodial. This is what you want in an exchange because there are exchanges out there, many, many of them, almost all of them. Bull just bucks the trend in this case, that they're non-custodial. And you don't want to deal with custodial exchange because you don't know what's going to happen in the future.
I have a story. I have a story about this. I had some money that I won't say who it was for, although if you listen back in the show, you'll know that I was running some ShakePay stuff for someone in my life. I tried to pull the money off Len to a cold wallet, shotgun KYC. How about that? You're at risk, man. You use these other services. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So with respect to Bull, you don't have that. When you make your buy, you have to provide a Bitcoin address. That's the only way to finish the whole process. If you don't, well, you can't facilitate the buy, which is what you want. Again, you want to take custody of your Bitcoin right away, and they batch these transactions, so you get it usually within an hour's time after making the buy. You can also do a few other things with your Bitcoin. You could start exchanging it in one of two ways. Number one, you could start paying your bills. You got some credit card bills, you got whatever you got to pay off. You could use your Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin had a huge run up in the past year, so you may want to start using the gains that you've made in Bitcoin, so you can start paying your bills with the Bitcoin. The second thing you could do, you could buy gift cards, and you could start using that indirectly in the real world, because right now in Canada, just like just about everywhere else in the world, it's impossible for the most part to buy stuff directly with Bitcoin. So you have to do it indirectly by buying these gift cards, and well, lo and behold, Bull Bitcoin has you covered with respect to that. Open an account if you haven't done so. You get $21 added to your account once you provide the necessary information and fund your account. The referral link is below. Check it out. That's where I do my buys, Joey. I love it. And I will always do my buys there.
Let's keep it going. Boosts for today on this beautiful spring evening.
You know what? All we received, and it's odd, we got no messages for boosts. I don't know why that's the case. We got, in terms of sats streamed, it was the exact same previous week. For whatever reason, no messages. I don't know why.
Fountain's been giving you a bit of a hard time, right? Like over the last little while, they're kind of hit and miss. Sometimes you can see the boost, other times you can't see them. Now you can see the sats, but you can't see the messages. There should at least be 2 beer glass emojis cheersing together.
I could not find it, unless it's somehow got buried or it's just not showing up. And my apologies if that's the case, but I'm going based off what I could see. So, yeah. Unfortunately, we're going to skip the boost part. So if you want to do a boostergram for next week, check it out. Rather than stream us the sats, just send us a message. We'll be happy to read it. It's the same thing in the end. If you're going to stream us the sats, just send it to 0 and send us the note, and you get something in the end. So
totally. I totally agree with that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Do you want to do a little housekeeping here? We can do... I was on Your Life, Your Terms last week. I think it's out tomorrow. Tom called me today and let me know it'd be out tomorrow. And then who's the interview this week? Is it Mr. DeGroot this week?
Yeah, Michael DeGroot.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about peer-to-peer.
Yeah.
And you're the one that clued me into him, I think.
Yeah.
It was you.
He messaged me. He's been a follower of the show, and we follow each other on Twitter for a long time. He actually, if you go back a few months during that, sort of murderer's row, in my opinion, of good Bitcoiners who addressed the Vancouver City Council, he was among them. So, he's a guy who is trying to get the message out, and not just by speaking. He's also done some good work here on the app side as well, which you guys will be talking about on Wednesday.
Yeah, peer-to-peer is something that we don't tend to talk a lot over here, but it's one of the ways you could accumulate your Bitcoin and even start spending your Bitcoin. And that's really what Bitcoin is. It's peer-to-peer exchange, right? Totally. I would love to talk more about that, but yeah, that's it for my housekeeping items.
Good stuff. Yeah, I got nothing else to talk about. Let's hop in. Where do you want to start? This is, like I said, an eventful week to say the least. So we got lots to talk about.
With respect to Bitcoin, it's not, and I'm actually shocked. I mean, from what I gather here, it's been relatively quiet with Bitcoin. The rest of the world.
What about the Cantor Fitzgerald thing? That's pretty significant. No,
is it, to me? It's I don't know why I'm just downplaying that. I mean, I think that the biggest thing this week was this guy that was talking about the 84K and making that prediction, right? That to me, that was the biggest news. And if that's the biggest news of the week, it's a very, very slow news week with respect to Bitcoin. But still, the guy's name is Josh Mandel, I guess is his full name.
Yeah, Josh Mandel.
Yeah, so Joshy Bitcoin, we'll call him. And he apparently is a legendary Wall Street trader. And whatever that means, he's made a lot of money over the past little while. And he's been calling his shots. And so he's been public with his trades. And apparently a lot of them are very good. I don't know. I haven't followed this. I still won't follow the guy anyways. He made a prediction back in November 5th of last year. This is before... That's before the election, right? That was before the federal. So that's how long ago it was. So Kamala was still a candidate.
Or is the election on the 4th? Maybe it's on the 4th. I don't know now. Anyway, yeah.
Either way, it was roughly around that time, and we were still wondering if Kamala would be the president or not. I think we all knew, but so he made that prediction: Bitcoin would be $84,000, and he said that would be in play on Pi Day. That's AKA March 14th, and sure enough. The price on March 14th was 84K, and especially at the close. It was almost to the dollar. It was 84K. It was very, very close. And so this caused a huge frenzy amongst people in Bitcoin Twitter or Bitcoin X, whatever the fuck you want to call it these days. I don't know. How could this guy be so right? Does he know something that we don't? Does he have some divine knowledge? Does his DeLorean go 88 miles per hour? These are questions we don't know. But November, he was giving people tips of NFA for him and from us as well. He was saying to buy iBit calls, as the calls, he says, would, quote, melt their faces, end quote. I don't know what that means, but it seems like it's going to go to the moon. He also mentioned that the fourth turning is upon us. And that's a statement I can agree with. It seems like we're witnessing the end of the US dollar being the almighty, but Trump may have temporarily halted this, but still it's steadily on a decline. So the fourth turning definitely is around the corner. As for when, who the heck knows? But either way, I have to say, for people out there that are buying this, I got to say shame on you, because this guy, Joshy Bitcoin, I don't think he knows anything more than you and I really do know, Joey. And all these million TA predictions, right? Like we finally have one piece of shit that was thrown onto the wall and it's stuck. And this is it. I'm not, trying to say that this guy knows anything. I don't think he knows shit, but I think it's just more hoopla, more smoke than anything else.
I'm in a group chat where people are worshiping this guy, like quite literally.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You're not in this.
You gotta call
it's
fucking
a lot of
names.
the same suspects. There's people in this. I can see people in the live chat who are also in that group worshiping this guy. What's Josh, like 6 o'clock in the morning? What's Josh say about this? What's Josh saying about the price?
They're
I don't know
still
anything
asking
about this guy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know what his deal is. He's tweeting out emojis now. He's got deep fucking value vibes at this point. Like he thinks he can move the market with a couple of tweets. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. I don't know. But like, why? I like TA. Like I do dabble in the crayons, the art of the crayons here, but I'm not that great at it. Obviously, I just try and hang around moving averages and try and take some emotion out of my bigger buys when I get a chance to. And even that is like very unscientific. The idea that you could predict the price of something like Bitcoin, which is the embodiment of animal spirits. It's an incredibly liquid market, trades 24/7, is international. So it is at the mercy of everything from geopolitics to NVIDIA earnings. And the idea that you could predict this, 5 months out, I think it's crazy. It's obviously, one guy who got it right. Not to mention that because there's so many autistic people in Bitcoin, if somebody gets a price prediction right, someone on Twitter will find it, no matter who it is. So you got to imagine, there's a million monkeys tapping away on keyboards, like the saying goes. Finally, one guy gets it right, and we decide to give him a book deal. Let's see how the second novel looks. You know what I mean? Well, I think we'll probably not hear much from this fellow going forward. Here's
the test, Joey. Do you follow him on Twitter?
No. I don't even know the guy's handle. I have no idea what his handle is.
I can tell you right now, it's Josh Mann. At least I think that's what it is. I don't follow him either, so I'm not in that.
Let's just go to his page. I'm just going to go to his page. Let's see what it says. Josh.
But there are people that do, because I took a peek, and I think it's just the chat you were referring to. I'm part of. There are people in that chat that follow this dude, and I was like, what the? Why bother? This guy, good for him. I have to give him credit. He was able to accurately predict something. But is it just sheer luck? Yes.
I mean, this guy going after the power law guy. There's petty beefs on Twitter between two guys who think that they can predict price. It's hilarious stuff about.
And I'm not trying to shit on if he could somehow channel all the knowledge he has and the experience and figure out what's the price. All the more power to him. And I'm not going to try to say like that. I'm shitting on him, or like I honestly just don't give a shit. I truly just don't give a shit about
it. Is crazy. Like this guy has 100,000 followers now. Then no one knew who he was a week ago. So make it that what
that's
you will.
All it takes is just getting, and all the other millions of people that are doing TA and putting their predictions on there, right? Like it's almost in a way it's similar to like you hear the story of somebody making it big, trading or buying a meme coin, and they are saying, look at, I bought it, I made so much money. But how many other people lost money in that same project? Because that guy the money just didn't come out of thin air. Obviously. Somebody had to buy and the money just funneled into his account from somebody else's. So that's what I'm looking at. It's like this guy was kind of on the right side of the trade, or at least the right side of the prediction, but really whatever. Right? So for people out there that are putting a lot of stock in it, personally, I wouldn't.
Len's shaking his head. People on audio, Len has been shaking his head for a good 4 or 5 minutes here. He's rocking his head, just going back and forth.
Well, I feel bad if you are one of the people that bought into this.
Can I get in his paid group? Does he have a paid Discord I can join for trade signals, FX signals? How do I get in?
He should do that to monitor. Like, he should capitalize on this, and I would recommend nobody out there follow it, because that just doesn't make sense. But still, there's going to be a bunch of suckers. I gotta give him my money. This guy knows something. He'll fucking. If this guy has a crystal ball, the guy's going to be the richest guy in the world just with a few shrewd trades. It doesn't take much with 100x long and something, and you just fucking kick ass. But anyways, let's move on, Joey. This Bitcoin Act of 2025. I'm not sure if you follow this thing. It's just making the rounds again. I don't know. It was a proposal that was introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives, and it's talking about acquiring 1 million Bitcoin over the course of 5 years. And I don't know where they're going to acquire that Bitcoin, because I'm not going to sell mine. I'm sure you is also not going to sell yours. But anyways, they say that they're not going to use taxpayers' money to do it, to buy it. I mean, and
is that the specific phrasing, or is it has to be budget neutral?
It's more of, I'm paraphrasing here, but like, I don't know. How do they get 1 million? It's through what avenue?
It's a lot.
Like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot of confiscation, right? They only have a couple 100,000, give or take, and that was through the history of. I mean, granted, they've been selling, but still 1 million. That's 800,000 more Bitcoin they're going to have to somehow accumulate. How much does MicroStrategy have right now? Around 400,000 or 500,000 Bitcoin.
500K. Yeah.
So they have to 1.5 what MicroStrategy has. And think of how much money MicroStrategy. So I don't know how they could do this with being revenue neutral or not costing the taxpayer.
The thing is, like, it's hard. It's hard because as soon as you announce that you're going to pursue a strategy like this, what does the price do? It sure doesn't go down. So how do you try and get good value for the taxpayer there? You have to be transparent in some respect because of the laws related to these types of things, but you can't be too transparent because you're going to move the market in a way that's, unfair, picking winners, pick your sort of phrasing. But you've been on this for a bit. Like, do you think that this is a reasonable thing to expect, that the government buys Bitcoin, acquires Bitcoin, whether it's revenue neutral or not? Or do you think that it's more likely that all they do is just not sell immediately the things that they confiscate, proceeds of crime and other items of that nature?
Well, in terms of like acquiring Bitcoin, I don't know a government right now that is running a surplus. So just getting Bitcoin, I'm not sure exactly what's the nature they could do it without ultimately devaluing whatever currency they have, because they're going to go further into debt. So I don't know. I have no issues with any government accumulating Bitcoin. Maybe the method in which they accumulate it, I could have an issue. But like I've said it many times before, Bitcoin is there. If anyone or thing wants to buy it, great. And if they don't, great. This is your opportunity to do something.
Boomer mentioning that he thinks it can be done through mining. I've said on this show that I think corporate mining is a good target for nationalization inside of 5 or 7 years, let's say. At $1 million Bitcoin, Bitfarms is not going to be allowed to keep the stuff that they mine. There may be a tax on miners as opposed to just shutting them out from energy. There may be a quote unquote climate neutrality tax of some kind. 5% of what you mine goes into the US Treasury. I can see all these things happening. This is the easiest way for me to imagine that these guys accumulate, and they do want to accumulate. There's no doubt about it. But I think there's better ways than confiscating XRP and selling it, or the popular method du jour, selling a bit of the strategic cheese reserve. How dare they? Hopefully not any Parmigiana being sold for Bitcoin.
Well, that would then be proof that they have it. And because a lot of people are saying they don't. So if they're selling whatever they have, well, they have to have something to sell.
It's not Fort Knox. It needs to be audited. It's Fort Fromage. We got to get into Fort Fromage today and find out.
With respect to the mining it, the environment though we're in right now, and Ontario, has threatened to cut off surplus electricity to some of the northern states. Can there be an opportunity to at least discuss? We're going to start using some excess electricity to mine Bitcoin.
Oh, I love it.
I don't know. I understand if you have excess electricity, say in a southern state, it's virtually or impossible to move that to a northern state because it's just moving electricity is not easy to do. You're going to lose it through transmission. But still, just the thought of it, I don't know, in the political climate today, it may be something that we might have to wait a little while. One thing about the HODL strategy, though, I'll have to just note this, is that they were saying they want to hold on to their Bitcoin for 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like they want to keep it or buy it and then instantly flip it for something else, maybe for whatever, pay off a debt. 20 years, that's what they're saying. 20 plus years, it could be beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, whatever's written today could easily be rewritten tomorrow, depending on the whim of the person in power. So Cynthia Lummis is also heavily tied to this. Good or bad, I don't know. A lot of people are liking this.
She's
Bitcoin.
crypto and Bitcoin, regardless of whether or not people think she's Bitcoin only.
Is she crypto too?
Most of I don't know. Most of the stuff she pushes is pretty crypto friendly. Has crypto in the text. I mean, this is people in Bitcoin don't read the bills, and so they're like, oh, the Bitcoin mom or whatever they call her, and it's just like, fine. There's good stuff for Bitcoin there, but to pretend that she's not placating the other side as well in an attempt to get stuff through is wrong. And, through that, there's some granting of legitimacy to those other assets that I don't think those assets deserve. And I would guess you agree with that sentiment. I personally don't care if the government accumulates at this point, because all the like regulatory cloud, I say this every week, but I have to keep repeating it because people don't seem to understand this. The regulatory cloud has been lifted. I realize that, there's, some part of both of us that probably thinks that this Cantor Fitzgerald story is sort of a moot point, this $2 billion, initial investment in a lending, I should say, service based around Bitcoin as collateral. When you think about Cantor Fitzgerald, which is pro Bitcoin, their former CEO Lutnick, who's now the Treasury Secretary, I believe, or the Commerce Secretary, one or the other, making this push on the administrative political side, and then his former company making this push on the private sector side. Why wouldn't you think that Bitcoin is headed higher longer term? You don't need the government to be buying, although it seems to me almost like a done deal that at some point they will. Even more than that, you and me talk a lot about Coinbase being the quote unquote custodian for future Bitcoin acquisitions that the U.S. wants to hold. What do you want to bet it ends up being Cantor instead? I
have no thoughts, nothing else to add besides that they should be holding themselves. I don't care if it's Cantor, it's Coinbase or Fidelity or even you or I.
Yeah.
Like, fuck. It just, if you have the opportunity, you should. And it's not like you can't. There are publicly traded companies out there that do it. I mean, Tesla being one of them comes to mind. I found no information. I could find nothing to show that they have their Bitcoin held through a third party. They're holding it themselves. Unless somebody could prove me otherwise, I couldn't find it. Mm-hmm. And they're one of the largest publicly traded companies out there and very public. And so if they could do it, why can't the government do it? It seems to be, copy and paste.
Unreasonable, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, all this stuff is evolving. The one thing I will say that I think we're both probably positive on is this is happening way faster than I thought it was going to 2 years ago. When we started this show even 4 years back, we were sitting around discussing whether or not any of these public companies, Apple was the one that we used to talk about all the time because they just had so much goddamn money.
Wasn't it Oracle too?
That was Oracle, Larry Ellison. Yeah, it was just like every quarter we got to listen to the Oracle call to see if they bought. Zero Hedge tweeting not only the EPS, but also the Bitcoin position, if there was any. And of course there wasn't. And now you have government officials who are coming from private sector companies, some of the largest the world has ever seen, talking about pro-Bitcoin stances. And, to see that inside of 4 years and to still have people say that they don't know if we're in a bull market, like you're in a 10-year bull trend here for Bitcoin, for sure. And I would argue it started in November of 2024. That you're in a 10-year bull trend because the price of this thing is only going to go up as currencies fail, as economic doctrines fail around the world, as currency alliances fail overseas. Like, you think there's not going to be a demand for an impartial, apolitical, censorship-resistant, decentralized money? I maybe you're right, but that's not where I'd be putting my bets. That's for sure.
See, P-Man is saying in the chat, they say Bitcoin is for friends and enemies, right? Bigger enemy than government. Then who the hell cares who buys it? In my opinion, is it theoretically? I mean, let's just really play this out. Say, governments buy up the remaining supply, and even goes beyond. Say they accumulate half the supply, so they buy 10.5 million Bitcoin. Does it really change anything in the end?
No.
You don't. It's not proof of stake. You can't control the mining. You can't influence the network. And so
It's
just
floor setting though, price wise, right? That's government is slow money. That's a 4 or 5 year minimum hold probably. So
yeah. And so like I'm looking at it, it's just an asset anyone can buy, and if the government wants to buy it, all the more power to them. And if they don't, have fun staying poor.
agreed.
And you talked about Cantor Fitzgerald. Do you want to go on about more than this? Or you said they would be launching that $2 billion?
No, it's fine. If you want to look more into it, yeah, like it's something we've discussed in the past. There's going to be Bitcoin loan programs, and this is yet another one. It's a monster one, mind you, but there will be more like it. It's even if you don't want to use your Bitcoin as collateral, even if you don't want to get loans against it, even if you don't want to loan it, whatever, right? If you're just a hodler, stash your keys, keep your cold card, and off you go, great. But the point is that some of the fog of war related to legislative risk, related to legal risk, related to any number of other sort of government-based risks for price and long-term stability and sustainability, they're basically disappearing, every day. There's really, in my opinion, there's none left, but it's harder and harder to make the case that there's anything that should be holding you back from buying.
Even like Bhutan, they're not buying. They're just simply diverting their surplus electricity to mine Bitcoin. Like that was the suggestion you had. That's what the United States should potentially do, or maybe tax one of the miners that are setting up shop in the States. So yeah, and they've accumulated a healthy amount of Bitcoin, and that was just energy that they were going to probably sell off. And I'm not sure. I think it was going to be at a very low cost to neighboring countries. So use that to mine Bitcoin. It makes sense. So that's another one. If you have all this energy that is just not being used, cannot be monetized to the same degree, just use that to mine Bitcoin. At least for now. It makes sense if you try to figure out how much it costs to mine one Bitcoin. I know it's difficult to do because mining one Bitcoin it's all luck, but you could kind of figure out between the hash rate and the price of Bitcoin, and you can see, well, it may be profitable if you can get the equipment cheap enough. And if electricity is free, and if you're the one producing electricity, it is essentially free because what else are you going to do with it?
Yeah, you're getting to the point where there's no longer going to be any such thing as excess or surplus electricity, right? Like it's all going to be used. Yeah.
It makes sense. And in Canada, I'll go on a bit of a tangent here, but think of all the industries that were using a lot of electricity, like the pulp and paper industry, for example, and they, for whatever reason, they're closing down. They were serviced with a lot of electricity, and where did electricity end up going? And well, let's just use that to mine Bitcoin. Didn't Ocean Falls? They were doing that, I believe. They were using an underutilized dam that was producing electricity, and just now they're using that to mine Bitcoin. It's been a long time since we talked to Oded.
Yeah,
we should say hello to that guy.
Yeah.
Anyways, solo BitAxe miner, and just want to bring up my little BitAxe here. So
I can't believe this keeps happening.
Yeah, well, it's just the laws of averages, because eventually, if you get enough of these out there, they're going to end up solving the riddle to mine and build a block. And in this case, block 887212 was done by a solo BitAxe miner, and the guy or gal was rewarded with a little over 3 Bitcoin in the fees plus the transaction fees, and minus the pool fees. So they made up pretty damn good here.
Oh yeah.
And this is, according to what I've researched, solo.ck pool, that's the mining pool there that solo that a lot of BitAxes go there.
That's the one you should be using if you're solo mining.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
This is almost a 300th time this has happened. 297 times a solo miner found something on that. 297 times. And apparently the winner this time around was using a 480 gigahash per second BitAxe machine. And keep in mind that the units we have are terahash, so they're 1,000 plus gigahash. Mm-hmm. So they were using an older model, or severely underclocked it, one or the two. And if you're thinking about getting a BitAxe and you're like, I'm going to use this to mine in solo and I'm going to find a block, the odds are against you. Just to, it's fun to do this, but it's not going to make you any money. It's just more of a feel good thing. If you use, for example, 1.2 terahash BitAxe and you plug that in and you solo mine, you'll have a chance to win a block in 12,000 plus years on average. So good luck.
Brian Johnson might be able to win one, but you and me not injecting he's the guy who's like injecting the blood of his son every week or something to try and live longer.
Oh, I heard about that guy.
Yeah.
How old is he? Is he like in his 40s or
I think
50s?
I think he's 40 or 50. Yeah.
Okay. So simply, I want to talk about this just for a sec, Joe, if you don't mind. So he is taking the blood from his.
That's not all he's
child.
doing. He's basically, this guy is a case study in the saying that once a metric becomes a measurement for success, it's no longer an effective measurement for success. And so he's trying to unwind what I think is called his biological age. And his biological age has a number of different metrics that, give you this number. And he's doing everything from tracking sleep to injecting his son's plasma to measuring how many boners he gets overnight. Like you name it, he's got it written down somewhere. And so now he's just focused on longevity, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I think I'm going to continue to enjoy a couple of pints on the weekend and not worry too much about the long term, because I can't imagine this is going to be worth it in the end. Just, a science experiment more than anything by a guy who has, an obsessive focus on extending his life.
If you think about what he's doing, and if it does work, which I'm skeptical, it probably would be copied by a number of different peoples right now. Take up somebody like LeBron James, for instance. He's now at the twilight of his career. I'm not a basketball fan, so I have no idea, but he's still performing at a high level, I would assume,
he's
right?
all NBA. That guy's more full of steroids than Prime Schwarzenegger, though.
Okay. But he's still, what is he, like 37, 38?
He's 41.
41, okay.
And he's been in the league since he was 18.
And he's still like at a high level. Right?
There's a case that he's the MVP this year. I mean, he just got hurt a couple of weeks ago, but you'd be able to make a case for it.
If anybody would consider doing it, consider how much money he makes for himself, the team, the league, TV sponsor, all this shit. He would be somebody who would, and if he's going to eventually bow down to Father Time and do it within the next 2-3 years, then you understand.
LeBron, you think 2-3 years?
I don't know. How many guys?
I think Balco Industries in Miami might have something to say about that, but I guess we'll find out. That's a deep cut.
I don't know.
People who don't know who Balco is, look it up.
Do players tend to play into their mid 40s at
no? High level? Oh my god!
So there you go. So yeah, there's not too many Gordie Howes out there, and he did it at a time when the league was, the people got in shape during preseason rather than staying shape year round. So I'm not trying to discredit what Gordie Howe did. He did a wonderful job in his 50s. Either way. So talk about the bid axe. That guy did it. Good for him. And I want to talk about people that are tired of taking a shit on a cold toilet seat, because there's somebody out there that made the shit axe.
Are you going to pull the story up? I don't think I have it bookmarked, but I'll see if I can find it while you talk.
So what is the shit axe? Well, it's a copper block it's attached to the bid axe, and it's a way of like a heat exchange, and it runs water through it. So this water goes through it and it heats up the water from the bid axe. And what he did with the water, he diverted it to run under the toilet seat. He ran a router under the router under the toilet seat, made it so you could put it in there, and there you go. So he was able to heat up his toilet seat using just a bid axe. And if you overclock the bid axe, you can make the seat even warmer because, well, you're creating even more heat. So I think this redefines the term building a block. I have to give him credit for doing this. So there's the he has a little video too, by the way. And if he could do this, and if you could time the shit with building a block, like having one built, I think that would be next level stuff. So it's people who are going to do this, try to time your shit with as it comes into the water when the block is being built.
Yeah.
So I thought this was kind of funny, but it kind of makes sense in a way, because you're repurposing heat that would typically go wasted, and you're using it, you're repurposing it into making an improvement. So I like this. It's good stuff. I'm going to give it 4 to 5 flushes.
Better name, the shit axe or the Shitoshi toilet?
See, the toilet would be the actual unit. So it's a combination. You have to have the shit axe and the Shitoshi
Okay.
toilet. So
interesting. Yeah, we got to think about this. This is going to take some more time. This is a CBP special investigation episode coming up. How do we pick a name for this thing, this device? I love that. You know what's funny? I was talking to Tom last week. Everybody, Your Life, Your Terms, by the way, since we released those CBP units, God bless you if you got one, because we're still getting messages for people asking if they can buy one or not. Everybody at Your Life, Your Terms is running a bid axe. Everybody. All the staff, old, young, man, woman, child, doesn't matter. They all have bid axes running in their office now. And they're buying more. They got one guy there, this Indian guy, Keith, I think his name is, trying to import the parts to build his own, like with a little more firepower. Crazy. The stuff that these guys are, it's amazing. Like, and so what I was going to say is, my wife looks at my bid axe and just doesn't think anything of it. It's kind of neat looking, whatever. It's just a thing in the house. In Bitcoin, oftentimes you are inviting weird looks from your wife based on the, sort of goods and stuff to show up at your house. Like behind me here, you got, the Mate X, you got the block clock, you got some other stuff here. Like Mark's logo even is not directly Bitcoin related, but the bomb thrower logo, you got all kinds of weird shit, right? And everyone is always asking about the weird shit. Do you think anything in your house would compare to the look that your wife would have given you if you were in the washroom with a router attaching a miner to the fucking toilet seat? Like how much side eye can one woman give you? This would be an all-time high for female side eye in my house. I am 100% sure that it'd be so hard to top.
Well, you wouldn't do this on the family washroom. You do it on the man's washroom, the one that you have for yourself, right? So that way, nobody's looking at you.
Sitting down. The one where you're always sitting down.
And you can control the heat to your ass. You can set it to how you want it, and nobody's going to say a thing. So there you go.
I'm going to be downstairs overclocking for a bit. Don't come knocking.
Not the family one. It's next to the man cave. See this phishing attempt that's going on? And yeah.
I got one. I got one of those emails with the seed words.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get one.
I'll see if I can find it. Maybe I still have it.
So for people who are unaware, there's a phishing attempt claiming to be Coinbase, and they're saying that they are customer service, and they're providing people with a new set of seed words to use. And obviously these are already generated by somebody else, and they're hoping that somebody deposits money into that. So whoever provided the phishing email is going to take advantage. And well, don't look at this shit. If you get it, it's not anything to do with Coinbase. And there's the email.
Don't go in there. That's my personal wallet. I'm trusting everyone to leave that alone. That's where my funds are now.
Hang on, I'm gonna just punch this in my wallet here. So, yeah, Coinbase would never, we talk about Coinbase sometime good, sometime bad, but they would never do something like this. It obviously doesn't make sense. It's a phishing attempt. If you ever get anything like this, really look at it. Hover your mouse over it to see where the link is going to and shit, or it's coming from. All that shit, you'll find that it's just trying to rip you off. This is just another way to make money and to make you more poor in the end. So it's bullshit. It's too bad. It's not a Coinbase thing. It's more just a phishing thing than anything else.
Yeah, I have no comment on that. That's a low effort attempt too, I would say. That's my personal opinion.
They probably captured a few people. If you only get a few hundred here, a few hundred there, and it's a day's pay.
Yeah,
right?
I wonder if did every person who got that email get a unique 12? I wonder. That's another
different.
Thought,
I've
right?
seen different emails. So unique per person, or maybe they're batching them, but I've seen different emails with different words. I should punch it in to see if anybody sent it in, by the way.
Yeah,
because we can check it out. Anyways.
So
Coinbase 2 is also going back to India. That's a really low-hanging fruit story.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
Well, India apparently is a big country for
Call
Bitcoin
centers?
/ crypto. So whatever. You must be happy to hear this because you have still exposure to Coinbase.
I mean, I don't care. At this point, whatever. Without getting into too many details about my portfolio, like I don't look at it much anymore. It just runs. Everything is automated. I don't really change the position sizing or anything. So actually, I got some shit from our buddies SB and Wayfaring the other day because I told them on dips now I don't buy any equities. I just buy Bitcoin. I started doing that a few months back. So
that's
going
a
to continue.
Sound strategy.
Yeah, it's going to continue. The DCA never stops on the equity side. Hold your tomatoes, but on dips, all the extra cash goes into Bitcoin. It doesn't go into anything in the market.
So that's a sound strategy because, well, I talk about all the time, but in the province of Quebec, somebody was posting in our Discord. You should check out our Discord, by the way, because
I'll put the link in the chat. I'll put the link in the chat.
Thank you. And you have to, in Quebec, disclose what's this guy saying? Every crypto transaction, regardless if you have a gain or a loss. And apparently, if you fail to do so, you're going to get fined $25 a day, up to $2,500. So, man, oh man, Quebec is getting serious about this stuff. They want you to disclose all your buys and sells for everything, which is why. Why do they
Yeah.
care?
I don't like that
Like,
very much
if
at
I
all.
buy gold, are they going to be asking me for my gold purchases? Maybe if I buy and sell gold, obviously, because that
Well,
makes
if
sense.
you buy and sell gold, like if you buy gold from a pawn shop, you have to give ID, I think, above a certain level. Certainly at the bank, if you buy any gold, you have to give ID, or they have your ID. So they don't need to ask. It's already available to them. It's
What does the
other
pawn
stuff they have
shop
to
do
ask.
or the bank do when they take your identification? It's just to confirm
The
your.
pawn shop keeps your ID because you may be a seedy individual. That is
So it's not
that's
being
the
sent
client base.
anywhere. It's
No.
more for internal to make sure that they're covering their
Yeah, and
asses.
if the police come by, yeah, you got some names for them. Yep.
Yeah. So with respect to this, again, going back to gold, if I buy gold, do I have to disclose it to the Quebec government? I don't think so. It's just
Where are you buying the gold?
Where was it? Costco? I sent a link to Mark about this. They were selling it. I don't know if the deal's still on, but it was slightly below market value.
Wow.
And because I thought he was still buying, I don't know if he is or not. I don't want to disclose anything.
I do want to buy another like gold chain or something. I bought this one a couple of years ago when gold was like 2,000 and thought that I was making a good move. I didn't expect it to jump, 34% or whatever in a year and a bit. I do want to get some more gold though, to be honest with you. I'm Italian. I like gold. And I think it's a fun, it's kind of a fun gift, right? Like I've been to weddings where we bought silver wafers for the bride and groom. I always thought that was kind of cool. Gold also, whether you're a Bitcoiner or not, I think you can appreciate gold from the standpoint of a store value asset. It's still pretty neat. I'm not a gold hater. I'll say that much.
You're not handing out open dimes and
I do give out open dimes.
That's the way to do it here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sent Mark Ripito a CBP t-shirt and an open dime after he appeared on the show. I should message him and see if he figured it out. I think it was like $50 on there. My own Bitcoin I sent over to him.
Yeah. Did you mix it before? Please say you didn't.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Start mixing now, Joey. Start mixing. Don't make a link to anything because now they can find out maybe, depending on.
I mean, I do coin control, so don't worry about that. But
good job.
Yeah, I didn't mix it.
And Joey, I think that's it because I want to talk a lot.
40 minutes. Okay.
No, because last week we had to cut it early. I think I want to go. I want to talk. We have a lot to talk about.
We do. Yeah. Okay. So let's do it. If you're on audio, all the usual disclaimers. If you're on video, all the usual disclaimers. Talk to you soon.
Don't be a cop.